talking in the drop-in classes down at the studio lately about the prana vayus. And the prana vayus are the directions that energy move in the body. So I often talk about prana, which is like the life force energy. You could liken it to qi in Chinese medicine. And the way that we get prana is from fresh air, from sunshine, from wholesome, nutritious foods. And we can also get prana from our yoga practice as well. And so the energy in the body is called prana, the prana vayus. Vayus means wind. And this is the directions that the prana can move in the body. So we can have an upward movement of energy. That's a prana vayu. We can have a downward movement, down and out, which is a pan vayu. And we're going to be working on a pan vayu today, which is this energy that comes down and out. So it's responsible for things like elimination, digestion, the urinary system, breathing out, exhalation, anything that's energy is moving out of the body, menstruation, things like that. So we're going to start sitting up nice and tall. You're welcome to close your eyes. You can sitting on a bolster or a blanket as you're comfortable. And then we're going to just take a couple of deep breaths and just allow ourselves to settle into the ground. So this will be a very grounding practice. Doing it on the earth, of course, is more beneficial. So if you like, you can take a big inhale through the nose, fill the lungs all the way up to the top, and then exhale out the mouth all the way down to the bottom. And we'll take a couple of breaths like that. So you mean inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, really releasing. And then you can continue to breathe in and out through the nose. And just as you're inhaling, noticing the breath coming in through the nostrils, moving to the back of the throat. And then as you're exhaling the breath out the nose, notice the energy moving downward, down to the bottom of the body, to the bottom of the feet, and then out. So in the beginning, just imagining inhaling coming in through the nostrils to the back of the throat. And imagining as you exhale the energy moving downward and out. So sort of this cleansing style of breath. And just take a moment with that breath, inhaling and exhaling at your own pace, and just feeling and sensing that energy moving down and out, that Apana vayu. And just go ahead and take a few rounds of that at your own pace. Good, and then we're going to add in some movements with that. So as you're inhaling, you can reach the arms up just to wherever it's comfortable. And then as you're exhaling through the nose, just bringing the hands one on top of each other and moving them downwards, just matching the movement of the breath and the energy, moving it down and out. And then as you inhale, reaching your arms up, and you're just breathing at your own pace here. And as you exhale, exhaling all the way down, just moving that energy down. And just go ahead at your own pace, do a couple more of those like that. Inhaling and exhaling. Good, and then we're going to go ahead and stretch the legs out in front and come into staff pose. So if you take your feet, legs straight out in front of you, flex your feet so the toes are pointing up, and then just bring the hands beside the hips here. We're going to draw the shoulders onto the back, draw the shoulders down away from the ears, and lift up through the crown. So it's really helpful if you're sitting on a blanket or a foam chip block. And you can have the palms flat if you want to, if your arms are long enough to reach and press into the ground, or if they're not, you might want to have hands on fingertips. And just creating a sense of groundedness through the base of the body, through the sit bones, and lifting up through the crown and the heart. Take a couple of breaths there, opening the chest. Pressing thighs down, squeezing the belly in to create length. And just take 2 more breaths there, really reaching up through the crown. Relaxing the shoulders, breathing nice deep breath. so gorgeous out here today. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, and a border collie just chased a crow off of his pasture. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and we're going to come into a tabletop position. And we're going to move into a forearm stand. So you can just clear space and come to hands and knees. You can put a blanket under the knees if you want to. And then take the elbows and bring the elbows down to the ground. You can take the forearms or the palms forward and just creating a little tripod here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to step back into a forearm plank. So now one of the things that might happen here is that your core might not be strong enough to support you in a straight line here. So the elbows are under the shoulders and we're squeezing the belly in towards the spine. In case you feel like you're sinking down or your hips are lifted up, just go ahead and lower down the knees and come into a straight line from the shoulders to the knees, squeezing the belly in and just taking a few breaths here, really rooting down through the elbows and the forearms. And we'll take 2 more breaths here, inhaling and exhaling. It's getting really hot out here. Good, and then whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and shift the hips back. You might walk the knees forward a little bit and come into a little child's pose here. So you can separate the hands if you like and rest the forehead to the earth. And this is a really great pose for grounding. Anytime we get down on the ground and we roll around, it's really, really good for grounding our energy, the electromagnetic currents that are sometimes floating around as a result of all of the wireless activity, radio waves, that sort of stuff. So let's just take a couple of ha breaths here. Go ahead and inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Take 1 more of those, just releasing and moving the energy downward with your exhale. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and come back up here to hands and knees. And we're going to make our way into a little squatting position. So seeing how the knees feel, if the knees don't like to do deep flexion, what you might do is take a high squat here. Oh, hello, Daddy Long-Leggeds. That was a Daddy Long-Leggeds. So you can take a high squat with the feet a little wider apart than shoulder width. And rest the elbows on the knees. And if the knees don't mind going into a deep flexion, you can bring the hips down, bring the elbows on the insides of the knees. So this is actually a pose that's really, really good for resetting the natural curves of the spine. And it's also very good for Apana vayu, so that downward, sort of moving downward, cleansing, detoxing energy. So you could, if you like, just take a couple of breaths here. One thing that's helpful is if you have the outer edges of the feet pressing down, we're dropping the chin a little bit and lifting up through the back of the neck and just taking a couple of breaths here. Nice big inhales and exhales. And then when you're ready, you could release the hands down to the ground and gently lift the hips up. And we'll walk the feet to hip distance apart. So coming into a forward bend, Uttanasana, and having the feet parallel. My Daddy Long-Leggeds is coming back. He wants to do yoga. And then we're just really feeling the soles of the feet here. You can let the upper body hang. Feel free to bend your knees a little bit, especially if you have back issues. You could sway a little bit left to right. If there is discomfort in that deep of a forward bend, feel free to rest the elbows on the knees and bring the head above the heart, especially if you have any dizziness or lightheadedness. That's a nice way to sort of modify. Good, and then wherever you are here, go ahead and bend your knees, squeeze your belly in, and inhale up through a chair and all the way up through standing. So strong legs, strong core. And then as you exhale, bring hands together at the heart. Good, and then we're going to move through with the breath again. So as you're inhaling, reaching arms up. And again, as you exhale, bringing the hands down, just moving that energy downward and down through the feet. And then as you inhale, reaching arms up. Inhaling, 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 and then as you exhale, moving the hands down the body as you're exhaling all the way down. And just go ahead and do that a couple more times at your own pace. So just following the breath, following the movement with the breath. Inhaling up and exhaling down. And see if you can make your breath last as long as your movement. So you're breathing the whole time that you're moving. And then this last one, we're going to inhale and reach up. We're going to lift the heels. Keep breathing here. So rooting down through the bottoms of the feet, down through the balls and the toes of the feet. And then this time as you exhale, hands can come down, heels can come down. Sit the hips down and come into a little chair pose. And we're going to bring the hands to the heart. So rocking the weight a little bit into the heels and balls of the feet. You could lift the toes a little bit. And just sitting the hips down, squeezing the belly, taking a couple of breaths. You can always make this stronger if you want to by reaching the arms up, sitting deeper, or reaching arms forward. We'll just hold for 2, inhaling and exhaling. And then at the end of our last exhale, we're going to allow ourselves to fold forward, squeezing the belly in. You can bend the knees as much as you like, especially if you've got the low back issue thing going on. And then you come up to the top of the mat if we're not there already. And we'll step the left foot back into a high lunge. You can let the back heel come down to the mat and then gently walk your hands up to the front thigh. And we're going to turn the right foot so that it's 45 degrees in the left foot. Lift the toes up if you can. And then thinking about your spine being kind of like a rod, we're going to drop the spine, the tailbone down, straight down towards the ground. And then as you inhale, you can stand up. Keep the toes lifted, which helps to lift the arches. And then as you exhale, sitting the tail back down. So that was again Mr. Daddy Long-Leggeds. He wants to do yoga. Keep the toes lifted, exhale and sit the tailbone down. If you want to, you can add in arms here. So inhaling to a 5-pointed star, expanding, that's beyond pran. And then exhaling and grounding, dropping the tailbone, bending the elbows into goddess or God pose. So do that 2 more times, inhaling and stretching out, taking in lots of oxygen, and then exhaling, grounding down, sitting the hips down. 1 more time, inhaling. And then exhaling. Good. We'll hold here for 2 breaths. You can release at any time. Inhale and exhale. Smile helps to make it a little bit more easy. And then as your inhale comes, stretch out wide, 5-pointed star. Take a deep breath in and then exhale and float your hands back down. Okay, so I'm going to walk the feet together. Coming into standing pose again. So you can just heel toe the feet. My mat is heating up out here. All right. We're going to come into tree pose for a moment. So if you like, you can spread the toes on your left foot. Make a little bit more of a foundation. So when the toes are spread, it's making your foot bigger, so you actually have a wider surface area that you're balancing on. So you can spread the toes on that left foot and go ahead and bring the right foot to the inside of the leg. And you can have it at the ankle, the calf, just checking that the foot is perpendicular for stability rather than wrapped around. So trying that out, pressing the knee back, and then if you want to, bringing the hands to the heart. And you're welcome to take the foot up into the groin if you wish. So draw the belly in, grow tall through the crown. And then again, imagine that you're inhaling through the nose and then exhaling and grounding all the way down through the sole of this right foot, like you're growing roots into the earth. So imagining inhaling and exhaling down, all the way down into the earth. If you want to, reaching arms up, we'll take a couple more breaths. Exhaling and moving that energy all the way down the standing leg, rooting it down. Apana vayu. 1 more breath. Inhale and exhale. Good, and then we can release and come back down. It is so gorgeous out here, I tell you. Like, we had rain the last few days, and now this is the first day of like pure blue sky. It's absolutely spectacular. And there's a little baby cow in the field behind us here, but he's way off in the distance. I'll show him to you another time. Okay, let's change sides. So you spread the toes on the right foot, bring the left foot to the ankle, calf, wherever you're gonna take your tree pose. Hands to the heart, draw the belly in, grow tall through the crown. So there's this prana vayu is moving upwards, yeah, where we're trying to grow taller. But then as you're breathing, imagine that you're growing roots. You're inhaling through the nose and you're exhaling and sending that energy down the standing leg, out the sole of the foot and into the earth. Take a few breaths like that. If you want, you can reach the hands up, smile and breathe. Maybe pressing hips forward a little bit as you're exhaling, moving the energy down the standing leg. So it's helping to root you, helping to ground you. Then we'll take one more breath. Yes, and then when you're ready, coming back, nice and slow with control. Don't worry if you fall over when you're balancing. If you do, just take time to stand, re-root, re-ground, and reset up from the bottom down, upwards into your standing pose. All right, so we're going to move the feet back to wrist width apart. So if you take the hands out to the sides, and wrists are right over top of the ankles. Good, and then we're going to bring hands to the hips. We're going to slightly pigeon toe our feet, and then squeeze the thighs together. So again, this is really good for rooting, for grounding. So you squeeze your thighs in together. As you inhale, we'll lift up through the front body, and then as you exhale, hinge at the hips and fold forward, coming into a wide-legged forward bend. So you're welcome to bend your knees as much as you like here, especially if there's rounding in the low back. You can let your forehead move towards the ground if you like. And you could take hands to the ankles if you wish. Just nice, long, deep breath here. So once you're in the wide-legged forward bend, you can release the hugging in of the thighs towards each other and just let the upper body hang here. If the forehead reaches the ground, great. If it doesn't, that's good too. And take 2 more breaths here. And then when you're ready, releasing. But we're going to release by walking the feet in and coming back into our squat. So that could be, again, your high squat if the knees don't like to go low, or it could be your low squat. So just finding the distance between the feet that feels comfortable and pressing the outer edges of the feet down. And then we're going to move down onto the ground for some belly work. So you can release the hands back down to the mat and just come to laying down on the belly. We're going to do what's called flying bird, or it's a variation of Salabhasan or locust pose. And the idea of this is the grounding, the rooting that we do down through the pelvis, and then the lifting up from there. So if you take the arms out to the sides, feet slightly apart, then as you inhale, you can lift the hands, the feet, the head, spread your fingers, spread your toes. As you exhale, float back down. We'll do that a few times with breath. Inhale and lifting up. And exhaling and floating back down. Let's do it 2 more times. Inhaling. And exhaling. Last one, you have the option to hold here and breathe. Or you have the option to lower down and rest and breathe. So if you're holding, make sure you're breathing. Make sure that your fingers are spread wide. Toes are spread wide. You're smiling, breathing, lifting. Maybe lifting a little higher at the end. And then as you exhale, release, coming down. You can make a little pillow for the head. Feel free to sway the shins a little side to side there to relax the low back. And we can release the knees down. We're going to walk our way up. You can do a little baby push-up here if you want to, or on forearms. And just come into a little child's pose. Make sure in child's pose that your forehead has something to rest on, either the floor or hands or a block or a blanket. You can take the knees a little bit apart to facilitate that if you like. And just give yourself 2 grounding ha breaths here, really feeling the earth. Moving the energy downward with your out breath. Breathing out through the mouth. Good, and then we're going to make our way back to laying down on the ground. We're going to come into a little bridge pose. So you can set your feet up parallel, hip distance apart. And then scooch the hips down towards the heels. And bring the arms down beside the body. And then whenever you're ready, you could go ahead and inhale, lift the hips up, maybe walking the shoulders underneath the back if you want to. You could press the backs of the upper arms down. Press the feet down and really root down through the soles of the feet. So pressing the backs of the arms down, pressing the feet down, lifting the hips and the heart, taking a few breaths here. And inhale and exhale, being aware of that downward movement of energy as you're breathing out. Each breath is an opportunity to cleanse and detox. Not just physically, but also mentally, emotionally. Negative thoughts, whatever's floating around in there that you just want to get rid of. We can't always get rid of it, but we can breathe it out and take a little break from it for a moment. And then when you're ready to exhale, let's breathe out through the mouth as we bring the hips back down. Good, we can untuck the shoulders, stretch the legs out long, bring your right knee in, and we'll do Apana. So this is Apana pose. Moving downward energy is very helpful for digestion, very helpful for gas problems if you have. Just relax the shoulders and breathe. Okay, you can switch sides, stretch the right leg out, bring the left knee in. You can take it around the outside of the ribs and in towards the shoulder, just to make space for the belly to breathe here. Remember to breath. The breath is the most important part. So remembering to breathe here is really important. And smile. And then if you like, you could bring in both knees, give a little hug and a little rock from side to side. And just feeling the ground underneath your back. So one of the things traditionally, the surfaces that they used to do yoga on, the yogis of old, was on a natural fiber. So in the old days, they used to meditate on like a tiger pelt. But something that's wool or cotton, any natural fiber would be just as good. So even these rubber yoga mats, not the best thing. It's nice to get a natural material if you can. Good, and then you can go into Shavasana here if you want to. Or if you like, we can do just a short mudra practice. So you could roll to the side and walk yourself up. And just finding a comfortable seat there. And we'll show you Apana mudra. Apana mudra is the middle finger and the ring finger touching together at the thumb pad. So you're just gently pressing the pads of the fingers together. The pinky finger and the forefinger, they're just resting free. You can rest the backs of the hands on the legs and sit up nice and tall as you can. So it's sometimes nice to have a bolster to sit on. And then if you like, you can close your eyes here. Now the mudras are a way of balancing the elements in the body. The different elements have a different configuration depending on how the hands are arranged, as each of the elements is in each of the fingers. So let's just take a couple of breaths here. You could inhale again through the nose and exhale and imagine the energy moving downward and out. And just allow that breathing and gesture to ground you. Really feeling the sit bones sinking heavy into the ground. Shoulders soft, jaw soft. Maybe a tiny smile. And what we're doing here is just feeling and sensing the energy. In the beginning, you might not feel much at all, or you might be wondering, what am I supposed to be feeling? And there is no supposed to feel this or feel that. You may feel nothing at all, but over time, as we grow more sensitive, you may start to notice the different movements of energy or vayus in the body. So you could hold this gesture for longer if you like. One of the things that's often noticeable is when you take your hands out of this position, that's when it's often most easy to notice the shift in energy. So when you do release the hand gesture, just notice if you can feel any differences there. And then we'll take the hands and place them face down on the legs. You can rub the hands just for grounding. More daddy long-leggeds. Good. And then you're welcome to take a nice sweet shavasana here, just laying down on your back. Come to laying down on your back, maybe a bolster under the knees or a blanket draped over the hips for grounding is also really nice. So the idea of grounding in Apana vayu is this idea of being connected to the earth, and also this idea of cleansing energy down and through the body. So it's really important for our health and well-being to have that movement of energy, and these practices can be very helpful for that. So you can take a couple deep breaths once you're laying on your back. Take a breath where you're inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, and just let yourself go. Let yourself sink into the ground or the earth or wherever you're laying. Just allow your body to grow heavy and really earthy itself. So we all have this element of earth inside of us. And it's this feeling of being steady, stable, grounded. You can feel your breath as it flows in and out. And as you're exhaling, you can be imagining the breath moving downwards, down the body and out the bottom of the feet. You can be breathing out through the nose and just gently, softly enjoying your breath. Please feel free to stay here as long as you like, enjoying the breath and feeling that flow of energy moving down and out through the body, cleansing and relaxing at the same time.